some of the oils. They bought the Aromalife. And whenever that would happen, they would quickly start working on that. And in 5 minutes, she could go back to work. And she was thrilled with that because that solved that problem. So I know it works. Me?
I hear you.
Okay.
I got my hearing aids on. Do I need to take those off?
Yeah, are you kidding? You're not kidding.
No, I'm not.
Yeah, take them out. Okay. And I need your glasses off, too.
Okay.
I'm going to actually use oils on this one. This is helichrysum oil. That comes from this is a wild crafted oil. It comes from plants that are not domesticated. They require some specific environmental requirements. They have to be like above 2,000 foot elevation and a certain coldness and warmness and humidity. And so this is only found in a few places in the world. It's found in parts of Italy and parts of Yugoslavia, Croatia, that part of the country where they had all the trouble a few years back. And so it's very costly to gather, and a little bottle that size, about $75. But how much is a hearing aid?
Don't want to go there.
It's more than $75, isn't it? Yeah. All right, so what you do is, pardon me, take the helichrysum. And the first rule is, when you're dealing with ears, you never pour oils in anybody's ear of any kind. They're very strong, and the insides of your ears are extremely tender. You don't ever want to do that. But we are going to get some oil in her ears, but in a very special way, in a very minute amount. And here's how we do it. I'm going to take a little bit of helichrysum, put it in my left hand, put about 3 drops. I'm going to take my index finger, make some clockwise circles. And I'm going to just get the oil on my finger and put it in like that. And I'm going to do that until I hear a squishy sound.
I heard it.
I thought I did. It's squishing, isn't it? All right, so I got enough in there. Okay, well, I'm going to squish this ear. This technique is in the Stanley Burroughs book with no oils, so it can be done with just Vitaflex alone. It's in the Essential Oils Desk reference on page 301 with these oils. And so they're going to be much more effective if you use the oils, but it can be done without the oils. Is that squishing?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. Okay, now I have a little extra oil here. I'm going to rub it back here behind the ear on the mastoid bone. And we'll put some more back there, too. In fact, I'm going to put a little bit more in my hand now. And I'm going to rub it on her the mastoid bone. That's that round bone back here behind the ear. And up over the top of the ear. And over here. And then right across there. Okay. Now, here's the technique. I'm taking my index fingers, and this you have to really be sure you got sharp fingernails when you do this. And I'm putting it in fairly firmly. Now, she's not going to be able to hear me, but you can tell her what I did afterwards.
I don't hear anything you're saying.
Anyway, I'm going to, well, I'll say it ahead of time so you'll know what to expect. I'm going to put my finger in those ears. And then I'm going to rock your head back and forth and sideways in different ways. So
Okay.
just
Thanks for telling me.
So just when you feel me doing something, just relax
Okay.
and go with it. I'm going to turn my hands right angled straight up like this. And I'm going to go back and forth 20 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Was that uncomfortable?
No, it's
Okay.
fine.
It might be. Some people it's really uncomfortable, and that's the price you pay, I guess. But you don't want to really hurt anybody, but you need to tell them it may be a little uncomfortable. Then I'm going to turn my hands down like this. And I'm sealing off the ear completely because what I'm doing is creating a partial vacuum in there, which is sucking that oil right up to the eardrum. 10 times. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay? Now I turn my hands this way, and I'm going to go sideways. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now I'm going to turn my hands out with my thumbs on the earlobes, and I'm going to push forward. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now I turn my hands slowly. Don't do any of this quickly. And I'm going to lift up and hold it for about a count of 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And now very slowly, because I've got a little vacuum in there, I don't want to pop the ears or something like that. I'll pull it out. And then I stroke the earlobes like this. And then I'm going to get just a little more oil. And you can do this next thing with helichrysum if you want to. You can do the whole thing with helichrysum. But you can also use geranium, or you can also use purification. This is $75 a bottle. These are a lot less expensive. But I'm going to put a little oil in my hand now using the geranium. Going to make some clockwise circles. I'm going to come right up here. You see, hearing loss can be nerve damage. It can simply be plugged auscultation tubes. It can also be lymph glands in here that are plugged up that are putting pressure on those nerves. So see, we're trying to get to the lymph and the nerves and everything, and do the whole thing. And here I'm not worried about right and left. I'm going to just use the right hand and the left hand as my well. I come right on up this way. And then I'm going to put a little right above the ears. You see, the ears, we have a sound system. The ears are the microphones. That's what picks up the sound. And then, of course, there has to be amplifiers. And that's just behind the ears in the brain in here, this part of the brain. So by putting a little helichrysum along those areas, I'm actually treating not only the microphones, but the electronics as well. It's back there in the amplifiers. And that's also, because we're not sure, where the problem might be, and then we've treated the possible congestion in the lymph system here. That's all there is to it.
Thank you.
Well, I should say that's almost all there is to it. Now, do you have your socks on?
I can take them off.
Okay. Go ahead and take them both off and sit up on the table, because we have reflex points for the ears, and we're going to work on those now. Just go ahead and sit here. And that's fine. Now the ears, I'll go ahead and do that, are the two little pinkies, these two little toes, up here on the pads of the toes. And so you can take a little helichrysum, or purification, or geranium, and just rub it on the little pinkies.
Those are the little ones who go home and
Little ones
who had
that-
nothing.
Yeah, the one that had nothing, and the one that
We
went,
hear nothing,
the one that we all the way. Here we are. And there's no particular technique to this. You just get it on there however you can. Now, I'll give you a testimony on that. I, for about the last 15 years, have been slowly losing my hearing, and I went to an audiologist a couple of times, and they say, well, you're not ready for a hearing aid yet, but my wife would have disagreed with that. And of course, I want to hear everything she has to say, so.
My husband says I have selective hearing.
So anyway, when I heard about this technique, I actually saw Gary Young do this several times. And I saw him do it on a deaf boy up in Canada.
Yeah, that was
You were there, weren't you? That was dramatic, wasn't it? Whew.
front of him, and she covered her mouth, and she took him.
Yeah.
Because he was lip reading all his life.
Yeah, yeah. I'll tell the story of what he was. He had been deaf since a child, but he had learned enough. He had heard enough as a young person that he could lip read extremely well, and so it was really a while before his parents realized he had finally lost all of his hearing. He's a very intelligent boy, and I think his name was Fraser. I don't remember his name, but his mother had brought him there. So Gary Young was doing this procedure on him from behind. When he got through, he says, "Well, how is that, Fraser?" And Fraser answered him, not realizing that he hadn't seen his lips, because Fraser was out here facing that way. And his mother realized that Fraser had heard for the first time in years. And so she quickly did this and said something, and Fraser responded to that. And they all broke down to crying. Everybody was... And so the rest of the way that evening is that on their way home, Fraser was gotten on the cell phone, was calling all his friends, and he never had done that before. And so it was just wonderful. And the next day they came back, and it was a great experience. But my own personal experience was that I learned this technique, so my wife would do it to me a few times, but I didn't want to bother her, so I just did it all myself. You can actually do this on yourself, put the oil on my ears, and did all these things, and rubbed it on the mastoid, and got it down here, and got the temples and back in there, and put it on my little pinkies. And my intent was to do it every day until my hearing got back. But I was busy and I'd forget, so I ended up doing it maybe about 2 or 3 times a week. And I didn't get any results for about 2 months. Before I did this, we had a television, and I'd walk in the room, and my wife would be listening to television. I couldn't understand it. I had to go turn it up about 4 notches, and then I would blast her out of the room, but, but it's just the way it was. And so after about 2 months, all of a sudden I walked in the living room, and the TV sounded perfectly okay to me, and I went up and checked the volume level, and my wife was watching it. It was where she always had it set, and I could hear it. And then I began to notice other things. The next morning I was sitting next to the fax machine, which is right where I work on the computer, and I was sitting there thinking, I heard a little sound going, and I thought, I hollered at my wife and said, "Hey, Lee, did you know that the fax machine makes a noise?" She said, "Well, yeah, it always has." Well, I never had heard that noise before. And I started hearing all kinds of things. I started hearing birds and natural sounds. And then a few days later, I loved classical music. I was going down the highway listening to one of my favorite orchestral pieces. It's La Mer by Debussy. And at the very end of that piece, he recapitulates the main themes of the whole symphony. And as I was listening to that, all of a sudden I heard, I've listened to that probably 50 times in my life in the last 20 years. And at the very end of it, they were playing the themes over again, and over the top of all that was this real high note. I had never heard that note before. It made me cry in the car. So, these things do work. Mm-hmm. No, did I have to keep up the treatment? No. Once in a while I'll do it. And now my hearing isn't as good as my wife's, even still. But of course, I don't miss anything she says anymore. If you believe that. But I really do hear her a lot better, and I don't miss much. But I don't have to do it anymore. The way the oils work is they actually reprogram miswritten information at a cellular level, which is why your cells are not functioning correctly in the first place. And so it really is at the most fundamental level of healing. And so once you're fixed, you're fixed. You don't need it. You don't need the crutches anymore. And that's one of the beautiful things about aromatherapy. It does not create lifelong dependencies like pharmaceuticals and drugs do. It creates independence and true healing. So that's the hearing thing. Go ahead and just have a seat there for a second. I forgot to mention early on that when we're doing this technique, your fingernails need to be as sharp as you can possibly clip them, and then be sure you use an emery stick and take off all the rough edges. And I know that's not something that most women like to do, but if you do Vitaflex, you need to do that. So I need you to lie face down right here, Maureen. That'll be just fine, yeah. Okay. And then, thank you. Pardon me? Whatever is comfortable. You can let them hang off or put them on your sides. It doesn't matter. And then this is a technique that we do in Raindrop, but it's VitaFlex, and it has to do with the lymph system and some other systems. You have lymph nodes all along the spine. You've got hundreds of lymph nodes in the body. But the lymph system pumps its fluids up this way and then re-enters the circulatory system through the veins of the neck, right in this area. If you got a cold or something like that, you can get soreness in here because you got viruses in those lymph nodes right in this area. That's where they're entering back into the heart. So these are the lymph nodes that most of you have felt and know about, but you've got hundreds of them all over the body. And so the first thing I'm going to do is called thumb VitaFlex. And we're going to do the same thing as we did with the fingers, flipping over this way, firing voltages. I'm going to do it with my thumbs. And I start back here on either side of the spine, and I just go over this way. See how my thumb is coming like this? That's how it's done. I'm doing both hands. I have to offset one hand a little above the other so that I'm not crashing my knuckles. And so here I go. Is this too hard, Maureen?
No.
Okay. I'm using quite a bit of force. This is one place where you do VitaFlex with a lot of force. I'm pressing down very hard. And I don't understand it, but nobody ever seems to complain. I always ask, but it doesn't seem to hurt. Even though the thumbnail prints are visible in her skin, you can actually see that I'm pressing down pretty hard. And you come right up to the top, and you go right up to the base of the skull, right in here. And you come back down. And notice my hands are just riding along. All the movement is in my thumbs. My hands are just not doing anything. They're just loose. You can see the little red marks on her back, actually. It's like little railroad tracks. And this is called thumb VitaFlex, and or thumb rolling, if you read about it in some books. And come back and do it again. And I should say this can also be done from the head. You can stand up here and do it like this. On a tall person, that's hard to do, but on a shorter person, you can do that. Okay. Now, there's another technique that we use in Raindrop. I'm putting pressure with these two fingers. This isn't exactly VitaFlex because I'm not going to flip over or anything like that. There is a technique you can do that is in fact that. You just take your two fingers and work up this way. But we don't use that in Raindrop, although actually probably some people do in some versions of it. But what we're going to do here is put both fingers on either side of the spine, press down with the right hand, or depending on which side you're standing on, and I'm going to start rocking her and then moving up the spine, just kind of walking as I go, like this. And that's stimulating the lymph nodes as I go. And also producing some voltages because I'm pressing down as I go, and I have a moving voltage as I come up this way. It's also sometimes called the saw maneuver because I'm doing a sawing motion. But notice that both hands are working together as a unit. I'm not cutting across my own fingers. And see how white I don't know if you can see how white my fingernails are, but that tells you how hard I'm pressing. Is that too hard, Maureen?
No.
No, okay. And I can get all the way up here to the top, and then I can get right up to the skull. And I think it's a good idea when you do this is to find the natural rhythm of whomever you're doing it on, and that'll depend on the size and shape of their bodies. And then that's the rhythm that I strike. So I'm actually resonating with her own body frequency. And right now her whole lower body is vibrating as a unit. Her whole body is, in fact. That's a fairly low frequency. But now to get up here, we're going to cross a frequency nodal point somewhere around the heart. And then her body starts vibrating this way. And so that's double the frequency. See how her body's now in resonance, but it's in resonance at a different frequency. Or you can just do it real fast all the whole way up like this. Now this is not just tuning in. Her body has this frequency, but it's a much higher one than the other two that we had a while ago. This is much better done with oils because that way then your fingers slide easily. So is that all right? Mm-hmm. Okay. Those are the two techniques that we have. But now I have another one I want to demonstrate. Okay. Now we're going to work on your lymph in a different way. And your lymph system is really another circulatory system. And it's vital to our health that our lymph moves. Now our circulatory system that circulates our blood has a pump. It's right here. Call it our heart. But how does our lymph get pumped? Our lymph gets pumped by exercise, mainly by your feet. So your foot, there's your lymph pump right there, Maureen. This foot right here. Yeah, this is her lymph pump. And when you walk, that's pumping lymph all over your body. And that's why it's important to walk. Now some people who are ill and are bedridden, they can't walk. So what are they going to do? Well, we've got an answer. I'm going to show you how to pump the lymph. So if you want to lie down on your back, I'm going to actually pick this up and move it a little bit like that. Come down this way just a little bit. So right on the end. Okay. Now, this is called the lymphatic pump. And I'm going to move these things. And what you do is you push the foot forward as far as it'll go. You bend the toes forward as far as it'll go. And then you come back with the toes still bent. Then you come down, and then you push up like that. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm stimulating the action of a walking foot. See how that is? I can do it on this foot. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you need to get down kind of low to do this. This chair's a little high, so I'm going to get down here where I can reach a little lower. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4, like this. And it should be real smooth, like a wave. And once you can do it with one hand, you can do it with two, like this. So how does that feel, Maureen? See? So if you got somebody that's unable to walk, they're bedridden, this will really improve the status of their health. And go. It's kind of fun to do, actually. Does it hurt you in any way? Uh-huh. See, when I push it up, I'm actually pushing with the heels of my hand. Then I grab the toes and put them over, pull them down, go like this. Now, if you get somebody whose feet are really stiff, you've got somebody whose lymph system's not been moving for a while. You're just great. Yeah, yours are nice and flexible. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. The atlas is the top of the, right here, and the hips are down there, the top and the bottom of your spine. Now the first thing I need to do is have you stand up. Again, okay. Okay, sit down very slowly. Make no changes in your feet. Okay. Now I'm going to come down here, and I'm going to put my, let's see, can we lift these or roll them up a little bit? There, that's good. I'm going to put a thumb on each ankle bone, and that's so that I can see clearly where the ankle bones are. Now, in case of Sophia, I can actually see the bones, but a lot of people, it's hard to see those ankle bones, so I can feel them, though. So I'm going to put my thumbs on each ankle bone to use, that tells me where they are so that I can see if they're aligned or not. And what I'm going to do, then I'm going to lift her feet up and see if it comes out even or not, and it didn't. This leg is shorter than this leg. Can you see that? See how this thumb is higher than that thumb? This tells me the hips and the spine are a little bit out of alignment. Okay, I'm going to put them back down there now. Let's see, I'm going to check that again. Yeah. Okay, this was the short leg, the left leg. Now, Sophie, this may hurt a little bit. In fact, it will hurt a little bit. I hope it not too much. But I have to tell you that. But here's a collarbone coming right across here. And here's the trapezium muscle coming right down here. Can you see that? And right in there's a little depression. And I can see it really, really well on your shoulder. Some people, you can't really see it. You just have to feel for it. This is the reflex point for spinal adjustment. And I'm going to take my thumb and put it in there, and I'm going to do one Vitaflex, just like that. And I'm going to do it with quite a bit of force, and it may hurt. But if I don't do it hard enough, it won't work. So I'm going to press the button here on the computer. Is that okay? It hurt?
Yeah.
But she's smiling, okay. Now we come over here, follow the clavicle out, come down with the trapezium, come right in that little V right there. Going to do the same thing over here. Ouch. All right. Now stand up. Okay, now sit down again the same way. Don't move your feet at all. Okay. Now we'll see. Perfectly in lines. You want to come out and look if you want. Should have let you come out there. Can you feel it?
I can feel when my hips are up. I can feel when they are, and it feels good.
Feels good. Yeah, good. See the thumbs are together.
That when you push that point,
Yeah.
it felt like an electrical charge right down.
An electrical charge just went down, which is exactly what it was.
Yeah.
That was electricity. Well, good.
Thank you.
You may stand up. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll try you, Alice.
Could you swivel the chair a little more that way before she's...
This way?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. All right, we'll try this again. See how simple this is? Anybody can do this. Okay. Did you move your feet at all? Okay, good. Because if they do,
They're off, my heels are off the floor. Does that
or they're off the floor.
A little bit.
But that's all right, as long as you just let them relax if they fall where they did. Okay, now I'm going to pull your legs up a little bit here. All right. Now I'm reaching there to find that little sharp point on the top of the ankle bone in both places. Can you see that? The right leg is shorter than the left leg. And it might not always be the same. A person should come back a month from now, it might be the other way around because the hips could be going the other way. But there you have it. Okay, I'm lifting the legs up. And you can see that this side is shorter than this side. Her right leg is shorter than her left. By quite a bit, actually, half an inch. All right. Now, I need to find that reflex point, that little magic button that we all have that adjusts the spine. I can feel her collarbone coming right up here. Comes to right there, is where it hooks into the shoulder. And here's the trapezium muscle coming down. Her short leg was on this side, so I'm going to do that first. And I feel around into there until I find it. It's that hollow, very sensitive place. It actually hurts just even mild pressure there. Okay, you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Was that too bad? No. Not too bad. Okay, then I'm going to find the collarbone here. There it is. And the low place is right here. And actually here, left and right doesn't matter. I could do both with my right hand if I wanted to, but I usually do left on left and right on right. Okay, ready?
Mm-hmm.
What you do with your thumb? What do you do?
The thumb actually bends down like this. I actually push down real hard like that. And then the same thing over on this side, just went down just like this. All right, we've just commanded your computer to make an adjustment here. Let's check it out. That's right. Thank you. Stand up, because they're still where they were before. Okay. Yeah, thank you. Have them stand up. Thank you. Okay. You be sure and get find those ankle bones. See that? Perfectly aligned. How does it feel? Does it feel any different?
Actually feels different higher up in the back.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Well, see, it's the whole spine. It's from top to bottom. There you go. Now, because of the fact that her spine's been out, she might have been that way for a long time, maybe weeks or months, and her muscles have gotten used to that on misalignment. And now that it's back in alignment, you may develop some spasms or something because your back's not used to being in the right place. That's when we apply this oil right here, Aromasees, which we use in raindrop therapy also. It's a muscle relaxant. And so if you have any of those, rub this on those muscles and they'll relax and do the right thing, and then your spine should stay that way.
Which way is the thumb position?
The thumb is like this and then like that. It's like this and then like that. Just kind of, you push down real hard and then just let it snap.
Does it matter which direction?
No, it doesn't matter. The orientation is not important, but the location is important. Now let's suppose you do this.